From beauty and grace to strength and speed, Russian athletes have dominated the Winter Olympiads.
To give Russia the top 3 places.
But this year, hopes for bringing home the gold now all but melted. The ever-formidable Russian Olympic team banned from the 2018 Winter Games in South Korea because of prior systemic doping.
It was an unprecedented attack on the integrity of the Olympic Games.
The sanctions today, one of the harshest punishments in Olympic history, mean no flag, no anthem, no uniform.
This is the Russians' wheelhouse. They've usually dominated the Winter Olympics.
Among the commission's findings, an outrageous scheme from the last Winter Olympics.
Russia had pulled off the single biggest fraud in the history of sport.
Sochi 2014, a grand spectacle of Russian glory at the 22nd Winter Olympic Games. The host country taking home an impressive 13 gold medals, spiking national pride, boosting the stature of President Vladimir Putin. The IOC confirming today Russia cheated, taking advantage of its home turf.
Dozens of Russian athletes, including 15 of the 33 Russian medal winners, were part of a state-run doping program.
At the center of the cheating scheme, a Russian scientist, Dr. Grigory Rodchenkov.
Big boss Vladimir Putin saying, we have shown the best result in Sochi.
2 people connected with the Russian doping program are already dead.
There never was anti-doping in Russia, ever.
The story chronicled in the Netflix documentary Icarus, which ultimately became part of the IOC's case against Russia.
The ability to go day after day.
Filmmaker and amateur cyclist Brian Fogel says he initially set out to understand how his hero, Lance Armstrong, had managed to get clean drug tests for years, despite his doping. My Nightline co-anchor Dan Harris sat down with Fogel last summer.
If Lance had been able to do this and everybody else, forget about cycling, what did this mean for every sport on planet Earth?
Going to do an injection. Exciting.
So Fogel decided to make himself a guinea pig. He would take performance-enhancing drugs, or PEDs, and then see if he could pass the drug tests.
Almost there. Come on, Brian.
Filming every step along the way.
I was very interested to see if it was still possible to evade detection.
For help with his project, he was referred to Dr. Rodchenkov, who at the time ran Russia's anti-doping lab.
Gregory agrees to help smuggle my urine into his Moscow laboratory to figure out when I would test negatively. That in and of itself was pretty mind-boggling because he should not have been doing that to begin with.
Did you start your program?
I did.
This is my morning pill popping routine. And then I prepare the testosterone.
Why did he agree to help you?
I came at him as an athlete, and I think the allure of being part of a movie. The other part of that is that he had just got out of the Sochi Olympics.
Months after Fogel started working with Rodchenkov,
99% of Russian athletes are guilty of doping.
Stunning revelations.
It's worse than we thought.
At what point did you know, oh, my story is way bigger?
Putin appears on state television, and not only does he deny everything, he says that there was no state-sponsored doping in Russia. And about 12 hours after that statement, Gregory is on a call to me, and he has 2 FSB agents, KGB agents, living in his home, protecting him. And he tells me that they're going to kill him.
The problem is to survive.
Listen, joking, you know, in serious society, like I'm just, you know, I'm worried about you.
Yes, yes.
And in that moment, I knew that the movie and the story that I thought that I was setting out to make was over.
You in any danger?
Yes, all I need to escape.
Putin will kill me.
Holy shit.
The biggest thing at that moment was that I had this person's life in my hands.
Fogel says he immediately bought Rodchenkov a flight out of Moscow to the U.S. He says the doctor brought something with him, a hard drive filled with documents detailing Russia's doping program.
I realized that not only am I sitting on a nuclear bomb of information that changes all of sport history, he had come preparing to blow the lid off of this.
According to Rodchenkov, during the Sochi Games, Russian intelligence agents posed as maintenance workers, entering the athlete testing lab, then breaking into tamper-proof collection bottles and swapping out dirty urine of Russian athletes for clean samples.
They controlled, everything about those Olympic Games, that they had the lock, they had the key, they ran the bank, they operated the vault. They could essentially facilitate, whatever they wanted.
The scam, Rodchenkov says, allowed Russian athletes to continue doping throughout the Olympic Games, giving them an advantage over other countries.
What's unprecedented about this was because of the degree in which the Russians were found to have been cheating in assisting their athletes. This seems like a covert operation that was greenlighted by the Kremlin, which is why the IOC's punishment for this action is so unprecedented.
In the film, a jaw-dropping conversation about the alleged scope of Russian doping.
Does Russia have a systematic statewide doping system in place to cheat the Olympics?
Yes.
Were you the mastermind of a statewide system that cheated the Olympics?
Of course. Yes.
Russia won a total of 73 medals in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. How many of those athletes were dirty?
30.
Russia won 81 total medals in London. How many of those were dirty?
Or even more. 50%, that's for sure. Let it be 50%. They were earned using special program, state-sponsored, of course.
Was Putin aware of the existence of a Russian doping system?
Yes, aware of my name.
He was doping and anti-doping. He was the venom and the anti-venom.
Once safely in the U.S., Rodchenkov decided to go public, and Fogel was now deeply intertwined.
New York Times is breaking tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Fogel says Rodchenkov was tired of hiding after the Sochi Games.
Instead of using the science that you developed to get around the system, you abandoned the science.
Yes. The most important, yes. Forget about this.
This was no longer science to him. This was, just outright fraud. And he realized that this system was not going to last.
So you think he saw you as a way to expose what he wanted to expose?
I believe that that's what happened over time, yes.
Rodchenkov is now under the protection of American authorities. His lawyer says he's been cooperating with investigators looking into Russia's doping program.
I do know that he is very, very pleased with the decision. I think for Gregory, this was a huge moment of vindication for him.
Fogel says today's news was a long time coming.
He stood up to tell the truth against kind of impossible odds, and the truth has prevailed today.
Putin has historically denied the doping allegations.
Прежде всего, допинг как таковой и проблема допинга. Во-первых, в России никогда не создавалось.
And the IOC Disciplinary Commission stated in its report that there wasn't any documented evidence confirming that the Russian president was directly involved. Individual athletes will be allowed to compete in South Korea wearing neutral uniforms if they pass extensive drug tests. It's unclear how the Kremlin will respond to today's ban.
If they don't take actual responsibility for this and accept these findings as truth and come forward to the world and apologize, then why should they ever be reinstated in any Olympic game?
Investigating Russia. A lot of news on the Russia investigation.
But the impact of Rodchenkov's whistleblowing is undeniable, even here in America.
Election meddling.
U.S. intelligence agencies say the exposure of the doping scandal was one of Russia's motivations for interfering in the 2016 presidential election.
Given your perspective on Russia now, having been through what you've been through, what would you say to those who doubt all of this?
Watch this film, and then tell me or tell the world that you doubt what Russia is capable of. It's that clear and simple.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.